A very warm welcome to all our viewers, to the Sentinels Newsmakers. And on the show today, we are going to talk about child rights issues. We will also discuss if the graph, as far as child abuse cases, has seen a drop there during the lockdown, the initiatives, the steps taken by Assam Police. We would talk at length about what is Shishu Mitra, all of these things we are going to discuss today, and how our children is coping up with the COVID lockdown. To discuss and talk at length about each of these things today, I have with me Mr. Harmeet Singh. He is the ADGP Assam Police. And also with me today is Mr. Miguel Das. He is the child rights activist and also the founder of UTSA Child Rights Organization. Gentlemen, welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Oineetom.
Thank you so much for joining me today. So, first, would like to know from Miguel what have you been hearing? How are our children actually coping up with the lockdown? Because the elders are finding it really tough.
Yes, Oineetom. So the first half was pretty okay because children could get that time with family, which was nice. Otherwise, the academic schedules are so busy. But later half, I have gotten to know that there have been a lot of anxieties amongst children because children need the open spaces. They need to socialize. They're at that impressionable age
Right.
where they need to meet people, see new things. So
Yes.
there have been very specific anxieties, but
Mhm.
and there on the other side, there's a large section of children who have also been facing economic difficulties. They have
Right.
been facing scarcity for food. So there are a lot of so it's a mix, of things,
Right.
which
Yes.
maybe I will speak about later.
Absolutely, absolutely. We will get into the details as we proceed. Mr. Singh would want to know from you if there has been anything positive as far as the graph goes, crime rate, child abuse cases, any good news out there?
Yeah, actually, if you look at it vis-a-vis crime rates or the cases, there's actually been a two-third downturn. So,
Right.
given the fact that children are at home and their parents have been at home during the lockdown, so in the
Yes.
lockdown period, we've seen the cases going down by two-thirds, which is very good. I also see another positivity in the entire situation is that in today's day and age, children and parents across social strata really don't have time for each other. People are always complaining about the parents either being too busy or the children having too much of a load in school or other matters. So
Right.
one positive that we can see of the whole thing is that children and parents have had time to spend with each other, and there has been a bonding. And I'm talking about this again across a spectrum of society. And of course, as I said to you, that whenever you talk to a policeman, naturally you want to know about the crime rates. Oh yes, it's really fallen. So in fact, I was on a webinar with UNICEF and the National Police Academy. It was a countrywide webinar only a few days ago, and
Yes.
we were happy to note that at least in Assam, things are better. And to tell you frankly, there have been a few cases which Miguel has also been following up, but our
Right.
response as a police force has been much faster, and
Mhm.
possibly we've done what needs to be done. When we talk of the Shishu Mitra program, then we'll talk
Yes.
about how there's been a change in even the attitudinal qualities of the police vis-a-vis handling
Right.
younger people.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would actually request you to talk at length, explain it to all our viewers what Shishu Mitra is all about and the steps that Assam Police has been taking as far as children and child-related cases are concerned. Miguel, coming to you, two-third drop as far as cases, crime rate against children are concerned. How does that make you feel? Because you've been so closely and passionately involved with child right issues.
Prima facie, very good. But again, like I said, since I'm an activist, so activists to a certain extent are also wary about what's happening beyond the things that we generally get to see. because
Yes.
there have been, though sexual abuse, definitely we have had very few reports. But as far as other crimes are concerned, like physical punishment, mental harassment at homes by sometimes an alcoholic father, or child labor cases, children working on compelled to work on the streets, these things, we have been getting very kind of different reports from different areas in Assam.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, like I said, since because of the lockdown, the
Yes.
communication is something that has been majorly affected. So we really don't know that what is going on right now.
Okay.
However, we do anticipate that because of the economic fallout associated with the lockdown,
Yeah.
the vulnerabilities in especially marginalized communities will definitely increase. We are scared that issues like child marriage will increase because families won't be able to take that economic burden. Cases of child trafficking, in fact, from some tea garden areas, we have been hearing that parents are contemplating on selling their young children to someone.
Right.
Then child sexual abuse, because now, like Mr. Harmeet Singh had said, that now mostly children are with their families, with their parents, mostly protected. Yes, so the
Okay.
vulnerability, so we are more scared about post-lockdown vulnerability than what is
Right.
happening in the present, which of course, because of the lockdown, we have no accurate data on.
Okay. Mr. Singh, how would you like to react to the points raised by Mr. Miguel about, the livelihood issue, the economic factor, the children being now more at risk, and also the data thing that he's a bit, you know, concerned about.
In bits and pieces, I agree with what the activist thinks, but then the activist is always glass half empty, and I'm always glass half full.
All
So
right.
I start from the positives and then go on to seeing how we can work on what he's talking about. In fact, UNICEF and UTSA, and we've been
Yeah.
looking at all these factors, particularly on what he's talking about, which are normally not reported cases of
Right.
parents in the anxiety of what's happening here
Mhm.
actually being physically or mentally I won't use the word abusive, but yeah, almost abusive with children given their own anxieties and economic worries. So we've
Right.
been keeping an eye on that. And given the fact that there is less movement outside, on the communication side, actually, it's made it easier for us. So you'll be surprised at the amount of young people, children
Yeah.
included, and younger adults or rather teenagers who've taken to social media in these times, particularly to connect with us. We are also running these telecounseling helplines for
Right.
psychological counseling with
Yes.
one part of the Guwahati Medical College and Hospital. And the doctors there, led I think by Dr. Maithili Hazarika, they've
Yeah.
been doing a great job. So even on those helplines, we've been getting calls from younger people just to, as Miguel said, work out what is stressing them out. On our own helplines, we have also been receiving a lot of calls. So overall, if we look at it, communication is there. But if
Right.
something's happening within the house, I'm sure when houses open up, people come out, we'll get to know. And if anything like that has happened, we'll take strict action. But we need to work together as a whole. Like, we are requesting RWAs, Gaon Budhas, village defense parties to look at people maintaining home quarantine. Similarly, question of looking after children, we are also asking them to do. And in fact, from this program, it's a takeaway that I have, that tomorrow we will increase our quotient of adding this to the home quarantine system that's in place, because these people would be looking at localities, looking at villages, making sure that home quarantine is being done. They'll also keep an eye out for how the children are doing.
All right. So, I would request you to share a little bit more about the other steps being taken by the Assam Police, and things that Mr. Das mentioned about families, because of their hardships at this point of time, because of the economic hardships, looking at selling their children and all. So, how would Assam police react to such cases? And is underreporting also a cause of concern at this point of time, like you've already hinted in a way? And what Shishumitra is all about?
Let's first start with the stress because of the economic
Yes.
situation, which had come particularly in the earlier parts of the lockdown. Thankfully, today, as far as Assam is concerned, the economy is working again and it's coming back into focus. So, whichever economic sector people were working in, that's
Mhm.
in fact, you'll be surprised to know that we there was a train taking people out of Assam for another state. From where a lot of our workers come, and
Right.
despite the number of people saying they'll board the train, they actually didn't. So the
Okay.
fact that things have opened up means
Yeah.
that part of the economic stress is going down. Now, talking about the earlier days of the lockdown, realizing that there would be stress, particularly for things like food and medicine.
Yeah.
You remember that the Assam police was possibly the only, or maybe one of the first in the country, to convert a huge part of its manpower into a
Yeah.
relief force. And we set
Mhm.
up a nodal officer based in Guwahati, and all districts went into relief work. And, lakhs and lakhs of people were helped. We even went into providing medicines for children and the elderly. And we are running, special helplines for the elderly. So in that, we got a lot of requests. You'll be surprised to know, for baby food and for children's medicines, particularly during the lockdown, from
Okay.
different areas. So as far as relief is concerned, I think Assam, what we managed to do is make sure that relief reaches where it was supposed to reach. And today,
Right.
as I said, with the economic situation opening up, at least that part of the economic stress is
Expected
getting
to ease
handled,
out.
and we are
Yeah.
there to help it. This whole thing about what Miguel was saying about hearing things, you see,
Yeah.
as both having been an intelligence professional and a police
Mhm.
professional, and somebody who's been working with children for so long, until I see hard evidence,
Okay.
I would want to work towards a fear or an apprehension to negate it or to
Right.
find the hard evidence. But I would not take that, just as you said, just as a hint. And, just
Mhm,
because
mhm.
there's a hint, then these things are actually happening.
Okay.
But
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
we would look for
Mhm.
that kind of information. And in fact, Miguel has been helping us go look for that kind of information. And the minute we have
Okay.
specifics, we will take whatever action, both on the counseling side, the rehabilitation side, and the legal side.
All right. All right. Staying on, would request you to share a little bit about Shishu Mitra so that whoever is watching this benefits out of this particular show. And I'm sure by now many people know about the whole initiative, but there might be a section who are still not aware of the steps being taken.
Okay, let me start right at the beginning at the word Mitra. You're
Mhm.
aware that our Honorable Chief Minister, Shrijut Harmananda Honowal, came up
Yes.
with, along with the Finance Minister, the concept of Moitri,
Yeah.
which is changing the entire concept of policing in the state from an insurgency driven one to a citizen centric delivery system. So
Mhm.
Moitri is where the infrastructure, the soft skills, and the technical infrastructure, both physical and technical infrastructure of the police is being turned around. So while we were working on Moitri, and the Chief Minister had been giving a lot of stress on the number of child abuse cases that had come up.
Yeah.
That's why we went in for fast track courts also. So those
Mhm.
fast track courts have had some effect, and things have moved
Yeah.
fast. Miguel's NGO has also helped in those cases. So I'll come to the training part later. So
Right.
out of that came this whole idea. In fact, I think we switched off for a minute. We are back now. Uh,
We can hear you.
it seems to
We-
keep going and coming. Some
Right.
technical glitch.
Yes.
Anyway, so Utsa and Miguel came to us with this whole idea that, part of the act says that
Mm-hmm.
when a policeman meets a child victim, he cannot
Yeah.
be in uniform. So Miguel had designed a jacket. So he came to us
Mm-hmm.
with this jacket and said, "What can we do with this?" He had UNICEF on board. So together we designed a jacket. And then from that idea of the jacket came the entire program that a jacket is not enough. We have to go down to the investigative level, to the police station level, and train everyone on how to
Right.
handle these cases A, legally, and B,
Okay.
psychologically. So,
Mm.
in fact, we are quite lucky that
Mm-hmm.
just before the lockdown came in, Miguel had finished about 75%, Miguel, of
23
the
districts.
first phase of training.
Okay.
So we already have sensitized police officers on the ground. So
Right.
Shishu Mitra is an entire package between
Mm-hmm.
UNICEF, UTSA, and Assam Police to turn the police force into a child-friendly police. So Shishu ka dost, Shishu ka mitra, Shishu
Yeah.
Mitra. In
Oh.
fact, we also have another app up and running, which is
Mm-hmm.
called Jatri Mitra. So that's
Okay.
for people on the highways to seek help. So
Okay.
it all comes out of Moitri and the attention that our chief minister has been insisting and making sure that we pay towards children and turning ourselves into a more citizen-centric delivery mechanism.
Right. All right. Now, Miguel, to over to you. Wanted to know from you. During this lockdown period, any concerns, any unique cases that you might have noticed as far as our children are concerned? Maybe from the underprivileged section, maybe something to do with the way online classes are going on at this point of time. Their healthcare, how are things happening there?
Yes, so I think some of the private schools have taken initiatives to make education accessible to their children through online interfaces. But
Yeah.
the fallout of that is a large segment of children who
Yes.
go into the public schooling system. They're
Mm-hmm.
completely left out. Though
Mm-hmm.
there are isolated initiatives where school principals, these shiksha karmis are reaching out to communities to basically, help children catch up or not lose out on education. There have been, but at large, we see there's a huge gap in making or in getting children access education, especially children going into the public school system.
Right.
That is one. The other part I see, though, yes, though there have been online initiatives, we have also come to know that some of these schedules of these online education, online classes, are pretty
Yes.
messed up, because I have heard that children, some teachers are actually taking classes from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night, which is
Right.
completely against children's rights. And secondly, though we all go on talking about online education, but the flip side of it is that a lot of children, young children as young as 7 8 years old, are spending a lot of time on screen, which is stressful for a child.
Right.
And so though it is important, but it is also important to navigate between the child's health and the
Yes.
child's right to access education. So I think there, because I think this lockdown is the only time where children
Mhm.
can do so many other activities to enrich their minds. A
Right.
classroom lecture is not the only thing that actually enriches a child's mind. There can be so many things which children these days are not being able to do. For example, gardening,
Yes.
painting, craft making,
Yeah.
reading stories, writing stories. There are so many things that children can do to effectively utilize this time that they get. And more
Mhm.
importantly, having conversations and dialogues with their parents on a range of different issues, which
Right.
otherwise, in the busy humdrum of life, a lot of
Mm.
it is missed out. So,
Right.
like I said, there is a good side, a bad
Mm.
side,
Mm.
and through this, children are having to navigate. The other thing is that, like I said, children need access to protection, which is very
Mhm.
important. A lot of times, children, I know, like Mr. Singh said, there is no evidence, but sometimes a thing like corporal punishment, which is very simple, and it
Mhm.
is accepted as culture in Indian society. So children would call us up saying that I have been beaten black and blue by my uncle or my father, but
Mhm.
he will or she will not complain, because that will get the father behind bars, which the child does not want. The child just needs to speak, and child just needs to know how he can or she can protect himself or herself from such abuses, which is happening on a daily basis, because this is a problem. I don't know how we can deal with it. What we do
Right.
on
Mm-hmm.
our part is that we share childline 1098 number to those children, so that in case things go out of hand, they can have access to support. Or
Yes.
even Assam Police has started an amazing psychological counseling initiative with the Guwahati Medical College Hospital.
Yes.
We have also
Yes.
shared such number with children who have faced domestic violence in the last few days.
Yeah. So, would this, I mean, having counselors in schools, would that also help in a way, address all of
See,
these?
See now, counselors, yeah, every school, private schools have counselors already. So I'm sure they can make their children have access to counseling services from their own counselors. But the problem is that majority of children of the state do not go to the private arrangement. They go to
Yes.
the public, the government schooling
Yes.
system, and the
Right.
government schooling system have no counselors. So I think it is also time for the state to reflect and
Mm.
one, make education accessible to all the public school system, because in Utsav we say the last child should be the first.
Mm-hmm.
The arrangements, the access to facilities should not be restricted to the affluent only,
Right.
because since we are a welfare state, our first priority should be children who are marginalized. Tea
Mm-hmm.
garden children, for example, a huge set of tea
Yes.
garden children with alcoholic parents have to live at this time. So, one, they need education. Second, they need counseling support. Third,
Yes.
if the situation of abuse goes out of control, they need someone to respond to it.
Right. Yes, yes. So I would want to hear from both of you on what are we doing as far as the specially abled children are concerned. First to you, Mr. Singh.
First, let me,
Yeah.
listening to Miguel and you,
Yes.
uh, I have an idea, Miguel, which I think we should take up with UNICEF and possibly work on. One, you spoke of the tea garden communities, and then, of course, we have the village communities and the marginalized communities. But everywhere in the state, tea gardens, of course, have a management involved. But everywhere else in the state, we have VDPs and we have
Mm.
Gaon Budhas, right? So I think we should extend our training program to the VDPs and the Gaon Budhas and sensitize them on how to look for signs of distress in children. So I think one big takeaway from our conversation today, Oineetom, thanks to you, is that from the policemen we take the Shishu Mitra program forward to the VDPs and
Yes.
the Gaon Budhas, because that would really go into sensitizing society as a whole towards how to watch out for signs of distress amongst children and how to handle it, and or bring it to us for us to handle it. Having said that, as far as differently able children is concerned,
Yeah.
whatever little bit movement has been there, in fact, there have been at least 3 or 4 cases that I'm aware of where at the Thana level, we've actually gone and provided either transport during the lockdown or as I said earlier, medicines for children who had a problem.
Yeah.
I think Miguel is part of our Shishu Mitra program. I think how to handle differently abled children and victims is both there. Am I right? So,
Yes,
we
yes,
have a
yes.
focus. We have a focus on this. And मतलब हिंदी में एक
Mhm.
कहावत है, or there's a adage or whatever, অসমীয়াত কি কয় নাজানো, কিন্তু अपने मुंह मियां मिट्ठू,
Uh-huh.
when praising oneself.
Yes.
So the kind of goodwill, I think that the Assam Police and Team Assam as a whole, led by the Chief Minister and our DGP, have generated in this entire COVID-19 stress period. I think that points to the fact that we've been reaching out to every section of society and doing
Right.
whatever we can.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we close, Miguel, anything you would like to tell our parents, our viewers? Because the thought behind having this discussion today has been so that we can help out people, reach out to people, and let our children live a happier life, a happy, healthy life, and bring happiness and goodness to the entire society. So, Miguel, anything that you would like to add here?
See, first thing, Oineetom, I would like to tell through your medium that a lot of people are unaware that
Mhm.
they to get help for children, there
Right.
is a toll-free number 1098. Now, this is a child helpline, and this is basically an initiative by the Minister of Women and Child Development, Government of India, in collaboration with Childline India Foundation. Now, people can always reach out if their
Mm.
children are in distress. The Assam Police has been doing amazing work. I would like to tell that whenever there are cases, what they have assured not only us but to the Childline team as well, that we'll give all form of logistical support because we have the expert resources, we have counselors, we have people with who are experts in speech therapy who can reach out to children. But without the support of the police, that wouldn't have been possible. But I'm very thankful that the Assam police has, every time there's a case of abuse, there's a reported case of violence, we have gotten all forms of logistical support. In fact, through our Sishumitra conferences, actually, this is the first time in India. See, generally webinars happen between
Yeah.
adults, right? So the
Yes.
Assam police has actually engaged through the Sishumitra with children. So
Mm.
DGP of the state directly spoke to around 80 children just last week. And
Yes.
day after, we are having IGP, CID speaking to children again. And then we have Mr. Harmeet Singh also speaking on cyber security in the next week. So
Mm.
this is the system of police is directly reaching out to children, which has never happened before in the country. So
Right.
through these initiatives, children can reach out and talk about their problems. That is
Mm.
one. Parents need to ensure that children are having minimum screen time because that affects their health. Parents should get children involved in more creative things like creative writing, painting, gardening, something that enriches the mind just beyond regular classroom affairs. So these are a
Yes.
few things we would like to say.
Mhm.
We are also starting a helpline which is under process with the Assam Police, trying to set up a help desk at the Assam with in collaboration with the Assam Police, so that we can also help police officers on field respond
Okay.
better to children, providing them technical support. So this is an initiative which is also underway. So hopefully with this we can have a very robust system to one prevent child
Yeah.
violence against children, and second have an option for children to reach out to whenever they are in distress.
Right, right. Mr. Singh, before requesting you to have your concluding words, just wanted to know. He mentioned about cybercrime. So recently, we had all the news going about the boys' locker room. So instances like this happening. Uh, what about the cybercrime aspect as far as children and youth are concerned?
What happened in Delhi is a sad reflection on certain parts of society, and it's, I
Mm.
think, been handled pretty maturely. And in fact, the same social set of people have handled it pretty maturely. And of course, the legal action is being taken as needs to be taken. Uh, in this entire crisis period, your online presence has increased.
Right.
Everybody's online presence has increased. You'll be surprised that the in our 19 helplines and in fact on our personal phones, the amount of people who are reaching out online, the amount of
Mm.
people who even joined a nascent social media platform like Twitter in
Mm.
Assam. So with your online presence and the numbers increasing, naturally so does increased crime. But at the
Right.
moment, vis-a-vis children, we really haven't seen too many cases of what is called grooming in inverted commas,
Yeah.
where it then leads on to other things, because
Mm.
right now it's still no physical presence on the ground. But yes, wishing and phishing for your monetary
Mm.
details or to cheat you, that has been on the upswing. So at CID and at our own helpline desk, we have 24/7 system running where whoever's reaching out to us with either seeking advice or reporting a crime, action is being taken.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you for all the good work that you all have been doing. And Mr. Singh, thank you from the
Uh,
bottom of your hearts. Yes,
I,
you wanted to
I
add
I
something.
thought you were going to give me concluding remarks.
Please. Yes, of course. Please.
Okay,
Please.
so no concluding remarks. I'm just going to use a cliche. And I don't know whether it will make the both of you smile, but children are our future is a cliche which everybody bandies about. But I think children really are the future. So all together, we must actually come together and invest in them. And it's times like these where everything is under stress, where you also get time to think about how you can sort things out. So thank you so much for having us here.
Pleasure. It was wonderful having this chat, and thank you, both of you, for doing this wonderful work that you all have been doing, Miguel, through your foundation and through all the initiative that you have taken over the years as far as children are concerned. Mr. Singh, thank you, and a big thank you to the entire team of Assam Police for doing the brilliant work that they have been doing during these stressed, trying times. And thank you, viewers, for joining us. Pleasure speaking to both of you. Thank you once again, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.